up again, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to Ages of Film. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the movie The Omen from 1976, directed by Richard Donner and starring Gregory Peck, Lee Remick, and David Warner. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well wherever you are out there. Thanks for stopping by and for being here. Don't forget to smash that like button, helps out the channel. And if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do so you don't miss out on any new video that I drop. I also want to say thank you to any new subscribers I have out there. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button and joining the pack. Always great to have new faces here. And with that being said, let's talk The Omen. So I'll just say that it was good to come back to this movie. I hadn't seen it in a while, but it's always been a movie that I've loved. It's always been a movie that when I do see it, I have a really good time with it. So I wanted to come back to it, wanted to have a fresh viewing on it because it had been a while since I had seen it. So I watched it back for this review and it still holds up. I gotta say, it still holds up. I still had a great time with it and love it. So a great movie. We're gonna get into it. I'm gonna give my thoughts and opinions on it. Just as a reminder, guys, this is just my opinion on this movie. You don't have to agree with it. All I ask that you be respectful about your opinion in the comments section. So first, getting into the positives and the stuff that I like about this movie, which is a lot because, as I said, I'm a fan of this movie. So one of the first things I want to mention and talk about in the positives is the story. I really like the story here. It's a very fascinating story to me, and a story that I'm really engaged with and really interested in. It keeps my attention the whole time because it's a really interesting story to me. It's essentially about this couple that are kind of the main characters of the movie, Robert and his wife Catherine Thorne. And they want to have a baby, they want to have a child, and they can't. So Robert, during the delivery of their baby, they have a baby. During the delivery process, the baby dies, and Robert, the dad, the main guy that we're following, played by Robert Peck, he doesn't have I guess he doesn't have the nerve really to tell his wife that they've lost their son. So what he does is they're at the hospital, he gets in touch with this Catholic priest, and they essentially find an unwanted baby there at the hospital. And they kind of secretly, covertly give this child to the Thorns to raise as their own. So Damien, who is the boy in this movie, he's an adopted child by the Thorns. So they raise him as their own. But we find out that this boy, Damien, has essentially been chosen by the devil to be the Antichrist and to be the agent that the devil is going to use to take over the world and to set up his demonic kingdom on earth, and start, Armageddon and all that stuff. So he chooses this boy, Damien, at a really young age. And we start seeing some unusual and bizarre activity going on from Damien and from certain things around him, situations and stuff that he's in that's just not normal behavior for a kid to display. We also have one of the most iconic scenes in the movie happen pretty early on in the movie, within the first 15 minutes of the movie. It's a scene that's pretty iconic. A lot of you have probably seen at least the clip or the scene. If you haven't seen the movie, probably familiar with the scene where the house servant jumps out of a window and says, "It's all for you, Damien. It's all for you." And she throws herself out this window and kills herself. That happens pretty early on in the movie. And that's kind of the first like real red flag that something's going on. Something's not right with this whole situation. So yeah, without giving anything else away, because I want to try to keep this spoiler free in case anyone out there hasn't seen it and is interested in seeing it. I don't want to really spoil anything significant with the plot or anything. Everything I've said so far, nothing's been spoilers. Like, everything I've said is stuff that you see and find out pretty early on in the movie. So no spoilers yet. But yeah, the story overall is a positive for me. I'm interested in the story. I'm interested to go on this journey with these characters, and it's a fascinating story. Like, what I feel like the story presents a philosophical discussion here, and it's got something to say. It's got questions to stir up within the audience and within the viewers. What do you do if the kid that you are raising, your son, ends up being, chosen by the devil to be his vessel that he's going to use to take over the world? Can you make the decision to kill your own son if it means preventing Armageddon, and if it means presenting or preventing Satan from having domain over the world? Interesting questions that this movie addresses. So it's an interesting story. It's a story that really intrigues me and really kind of lures me in to the rest of the film. So the story is a strong positive for me. As far as characters go, there are a couple characters here that I also really like. I do really like the main character of Robert Thorne, played by the lead actor Gregory Peck. I think he's a good character. We see different sides of that character. I feel like he is a rounded character, and I feel like we do see him go on this journey of not having faith and not believing, to coming to the point towards the end of the movie where he actually now does believe, and he knows and he realizes what he has to do. And so we see a bit of an arc there with Robert, and I like that character. You warm to him, you feel bad for him, you sympathize with him. You can tell he loves his son. He loves being a dad, but at the same time, he also knows and realizes at the end what he has to do. So I thought he was a good character, well written. I also liked the character Keith, played by David Warner. I thought he was also a really likable character, and really he was entertaining, and I thought he added something to the film. He gave the film a certain flavor that I thought it needed. So you're not just with the Thorns the entire time. He's another character to add in there for you to kind of get to know and warm to. I liked his character as well. Also, the performances really across the board. I thought the performances by everyone are pretty good. Obviously, Gregory Peck in the lead role does a great job. I thought Lee Remick as his wife gives a really good performance. David Warner does a great job in his role. I even thought the guy that played the priest does a really good job. Even the kid, Damien, the kid that plays Damien in the movie, for being a really young kid, a toddler, really at this point, I thought that Richard Donner, the director, was really able to direct that kid really well and was able to get and evoke some emotions for certain scenes that he needed to get out of the kid. I feel like he was able to get, and that's a sign of good directing when you know how to direct your talent and you know how to get your talent to display or show certain emotions that scenes require. And I felt like Donner was able to do that really well in this movie. So, really good performances across the board here. Really good directing by Richard Donner. I thought the cinematography looked really good. I liked how this film was shot. I thought Donner does some pretty cool things with the camera as well. I liked a lot of the shot selections that he used. I thought the lighting was good, the exposure was good, the camera placement for the most part was pretty good. So yeah, I thought it was well. It was, it was pretty well directed. There are certain issues when I get to the negatives that I'm gonna kind of talk about with the directing, but just from a purely directorial standpoint, what you're doing with the camera, how you're directing the talent, stuff like that, I thought was pretty good by Richard Donner. And then also I think the screenplay in the script itself was pretty well written. It's a script that makes sense, I think, for the most part. It plays out pretty coherently. There's not really any issues for me that stand out in the script department. I can follow through this movie without any problems, any reservations. So I thought that the script was also a positive for me. Moving into the negatives now with this movie, I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of negatives. This is a pretty darn good film. But just a couple of negatives that I need to point out. One of them, I think, for me, and this kind of touches on part of the directing by Richard Donner, and that's in the effects department. With the visual effects, I felt like there were a couple of scenes that I don't know were well executed. I like the idea behind them, but the execution of certain visual effects I don't think hold up very well. One scene in particular is when the priest is kind of running from all this kind of demonic activity that's happening around him. He's running away. He's trying to run away from it, and he gets to like a bell tower or a cathedral, I think. And there's like this crazy windstorm that's happening, and one of the stakes or the spikes from on top of the bell tower, I think it's a bell tower, falls off, and it goes straight through him. And the effects there, I don't think look very good. Like you could literally tell that it's just the actor standing in front with the spike behind him. Like it's there's no actual practical effects done on the actor. It's literally the actor, and then behind him is the spike. But the spike is supposed to have gone right through him, but you can clearly see that the spike is behind the actor. So to me, it didn't look very good. It wasn't executed very well. There's a couple of scenes like that when I watch it back now, although I still love the movie, I don't know carry over very well to modern day standards. So that would be one area that it's kind of a negative for me when I watch it. It kind of pulls me out momentarily. Also, I have some issues with the nanny, or with the maid house servant. So this is a woman that within like the first or second day that she's working for the Thorns, she's already arguing with with Mrs. Thorne about whether or not Damien should go to church or not, or wear something. I think I think they were going somewhere. I think they were going to church, and the nanny, who we find out is kind of actually also being used by the demonic forces to help protect Damien, and keep him away from religious type of stuff. She's trying to keep him from going to church, and the mom she's like, no, he's our boy. This is our house, our rules, our son. And so, like, from the first day, she's already arguing with the mom. And then, like, within that same week, she brings a dog into the house without permission. She just brings in this dog for Damien. And to me, like, there's a little bit of a stretch, I feel, for me, buying into that. Like, if you're already having a heated argument with my wife the first day that we hire you, or bring you on, and then that same week you're bringing a stray dog into the house without my permission, and you're giving it to our son when we don't know what that dog is capable of. We don't know where the dog came from. Our son is a little guy at the time. Like, the fact that they still just let her be there, they don't fire her, it's like, to me, there's a bit of a stretch. So I'm like, I don't know that I buy that this couple would let this lady stay on and keep her job after these situations. Secondly, they don't even do a background check on her. Like, she just tells him, "Oh yeah, I'm with, I think she says she's with the local cathedral or something like that," and they're just like, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah, come on in our house, supervise our little kid, even though we don't really know anything about you. Yeah, just come on in and help us raise our little kid." Like, there's a lot of questionable decisions that this couple make in regards to the nanny. And when I watch it, I have I have a hard time going there and accepting that this couple that wanted so bad to have a kid would also be so flippant and just letting situations happen around their kid that could potentially be very, very pernicious to their kid, So like, it's a little bit of a stretch for me there. Not a huge issue, but it's something that does stick out for me, that I would have kind of an issue with. Also, the priest character. That's another character that is questionable for me, because clearly this priest isn't right in the head. Like, he's got some issues that he's working through. But then that raises the question: how is he a priest? Like, he's one of two things is happening. Either A, he's just gone off his rocker and he's just totally loony at this point, which means there's no way that he should be an active priest, or he's a really good priest and really solid, but then raises the question, why then is he acting the way he's acting around the thorns and not just coming out and telling Robert what the issue is? He's beating around the bush. He acts like he's so urgent to tell Robert about Damien, but then literally every opportunity he has to talk to Robert, he's doing everything but actually telling him your son's the Antichrist. You know, like he's beating around the bush every time, and yet he's so eager to talk with Robert. To me, it's like, okay, one of these two things has to go. You know, so I don't know that I was fully on board with how they executed the character of the priest in the movie. That'd be another issue. And then my only other negative that I have with this movie is actually with the mother herself, like with the mom. To me, I just feel like she's a very kind of reckless and naive mother, you know, and I really question her, you know, her validity in being a mom. You know, like some of the stuff that she does in the movie, some of the stuff that she says, it's like, were you really ready? Were you really ready to be a mom, lady? Because you're not really showing any signs that you're. I mean, Damien literally gets lost. They lose Damien in like the first 10 minutes of the movie. Like they're strolling to the park, and why two new parents would let their little 2 or 3 year old kid be walking behind them and not in front of them, not paying attention to their kid. It's like, what are y'all doing right now? Like, how is this happening? So, yeah, the mom is just like one thing after another. It's really questionable whether or not she was really fully ready to be a mom. And then she finds out that she actually is pregnant later on, and she decides that she doesn't want the baby, even though her being pregnant with another baby should have no bearing on how she has raised Damien so far, if that makes sense. So, but she wants to terminate and murder her baby, just because Damien's a little rambunctious. So for me, that's a little like, okay, I just, for me, the mom in this movie is very questionable with her antics and some of the things that she does and stuff. I'm like, I don't know that I really like the mother character. She doesn't really have a lot of likable qualities for me. So, but that's it. Those are really all my negatives. There's nothing huge, nothing major, no major issues with the movie. Just a few things that I felt like could have been executed better in the film. But overall, still a great film. My rating for The Omen, I'm going to give this a solid 4 out of 5 stars. A great movie. Definitely one that I would recommend. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely one I would recommend checking out at least once. It's a pretty, well-known and well-established horror film at this, but by now, and spawned several sequels. So yeah, if you haven't checked out The Omen, go do yourself a favor and give it a watch. 4 out of 5, that's my rating. Let me know your rating in the comment section. Do you agree with my rating? What would you give this movie? Anything and everything you want to let me know in the comment section, welcome. And until next time, you know what it is. Kick it and rock on.